why simps always lose, and strategic men always win. She didn't leave because she found someone better. She left because you made her the prize. And the moment you did that, you lost. Not because she's evil, not because women are heartless, but because power never bows without consequence. There are two types of men in the arena of attraction. One negotiates from fear, the other operates from position. One chases approval, the other commands respect. One invests emotionally before value is proven, the other invests strategically, and every time, without exception, the first man loses. Not sometimes, always. Tonight we are not here to insult you, we are here to dissect you. The simp is not romantic. He is anxious, and let's remove the slang for a second. Saying simp is just modern vocabulary for something much older. Approval-seeking male behavior rooted in insecurity. What you call love, what you call loyalty, what you call being a good guy, is often anxiety in disguise. Psychologically, this behavior mirrors patterns described in No More Mr. Nice Guy, where men trade authenticity for approval. They suppress their standards. They overgive. They overaccommodate. They overpraise. Why? Because they are afraid. Afraid she'll leave. Afraid she'll lose interest. Afraid another man will replace them. And fear is the worst position from which to negotiate anything. Especially attraction. Attraction is not charity. You cannot donate your way into desire. Read that again. You cannot donate your way into desire. Excessive compliments, unasked for favors, paying for everything, and being always available, responding instantly, canceling your life for her convenience. You think you are increasing your value. You are decreasing it. Scarcity increases value. Abundance decreases it. This is not ideology. This is psychology. Robert Cialdini outlines the power of scarcity and influence. People assign greater value to what is limited. The simp behaves as if he is unlimited. Unlimited time, unlimited attention, unlimited emotional investment, and therefore, limited value. Here is the deeper problem. The simp is not chasing her. He is chasing how she makes him feel. Her text gives him dopamine. Her attention gives him status. Her approval gives him temporary relief from insecurity. This is an addiction, not affection. The anxious brain becomes hyper-focused on unpredictable rewards. Intermittent reinforcement. She replies quickly sometimes. Other times, she disappears. And instead of stepping back, he doubles down. He texts more. He invests more. He tries harder. He believes effort equals attraction. But attraction is not a math equation. It is perception. And perception shifts when effort becomes desperation. Overinvestment signals, weak position. You text first every day. You plan every date. You pay every bill. You apologize even when you're not wrong. You tolerate disrespect. You accept late replies. You ignore red flags. And you think this makes you a good man. No, it makes you predictable. It makes you safe. It makes you emotionally available before she has earned access. In power dynamics, the one who needs less wins. This principle echoes throughout strategy literature, including the 48 Laws of Power. When you show you need her more than she needs you, you surrender leverage. And attraction without leverage collapses. Respect precedes desire. Here is a truth most men refuse to accept. You cannot be worshiping her and expect to be respected by her at the same time. If you elevate her above yourself, if you pedestal her, if you treat her as rare while behaving as common, you invert the hierarchy. And attraction is built on hierarchy perception. This doesn't mean dominance through aggression. It means internal stability, calm boundaries, non-reactivity, outcome independence, The strategic man does not beg for placement in her life. He evaluates whether she deserves placement in his. That single shift changes everything. Think of attraction as a royal court. In medieval courts, power flowed towards those who appeared self-contained. A courtier who flattered excessively was tolerated, but never respected. A man who sought favor openly was seen as politically weak. This philosophy runs parallel to the principles in The Prince. Power is not claimed through pleading. It is established through positioning. When you overpraise a woman, when you signal that losing her would devastate you, when you make her your emotional center before she has proven loyalty, you announce dependency. And dependency is political weakness, even in romance, especially in romance. Why simps always lose. Let's break it down clinically. 1. They remove mystery over texting, oversharing, immediate replies, constant reassurance. There is no uncertainty, and uncertainty fuels attraction. When everything is predictable, excitement fades. 2. They reward minimal effort. She gives a half response. He gives full energy. She cancels. He reschedules instantly. She shows lukewarm interest. He increases intensity. This trains her subconsciously. Minimal investment yields maximum return, and humans do what is rewarded. 3. They abandon their mission. The most unattractive shift is this. He reorganizes his life around her. Gym routines decline. Business focus weakens. Friends see him less. Purpose shrinks. And when a man shrinks his world to fit a woman, she eventually feels suffocated by it. The strategic man does the opposite. He expands his world. He becomes busier, stronger, more mission-driven. Not to impress her, but because that is who he is. And ironically, that is what attracts. Now take note of the strategic man's psychological profile. He is not cold. He is controlled. He is not distant. He is disciplined. He does not ignore her. He matches investment. He understands a principle consistent with the art of war. Strength is position, not aggression. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't chase clarity. He doesn't beg for reassurance. If interest is reciprocated, he proceeds. If it is not, he withdraws. Calmly. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but because he refuses to negotiate from weakness. Now let's confront something uncomfortable. Some of you watching right now are not losing because women are shallow. You are losing because you are easy, too available, too impressed, too accommodating, too eager. You believe intensity equals value. It doesn't. Intensity without standards equals insecurity. And insecurity leaks through behavior, through tone, through timing, through overinvestment. You can't hide it. People feel it. When a woman senses that, you need her approval. You are afraid to lose her. You lack other options. Your happiness depends on her responses. She feels pressure. And pressure erodes attraction. Attraction thrives in freedom. The strategic man creates space. The simp collapses it. And the simps do not know what he is doing. Before we go further, I need to establish something. You are not doomed. You are conditioned. And conditioning can be reversed. You were not born a simp. You were trained into it. Slowly. Socially. Psychologically. And if you don't understand the conditioning, you will keep repeating it. Because the problem is deeper than behavior. It's identity. From childhood, most men absorb the same script. Be nice. Be patient. Be emotionally available. Don't put her first. Prove your devotion. If you treat her like a queen, she'll treat you like a king. It sounds beautiful. It sounds moral. It sounds noble. It is also incomplete. Because attraction is not a morality contest. It is a psychological exchange. And when you treat someone like royalty before they've earned it, You communicate something unintended. You are below them. This is not bitterness. This is hierarchy perception. Modern culture amplified this weakness. Social media didn't create simping. It industrialized it. An average woman today can receive more validation in a single post than queens once received in a lifetime. Likes, comments, DMs, orbiters, thousands of men competing for micro-attention. And what does the average man do? He tries to stand out by giving more praise, more reaction, more effort. But in a saturated market, increased supply lowers value. This is economic law, and you are oversupplying attention. You have made your approval cheap. When she replies quickly, you feel a spike. When she leaves you on red, you feel anxiety. When she posts but ignores you, you feel threatened. This is the same psychological mechanism that keeps gamblers at slot machines. Unpredictable reward schedules are the most addictive. You don't know when you'll get validation. So you try harder. Text more. Compliment more. Invest more. Not because you are strong, because you are hooked. And when you're hooked, you negotiate from dependency. Dependency kills leverage. There's a difference between being scarce and having a scarcity mindset. Scarcity, strategic. You are busy. You have purpose. You don't overextend. You invest proportionally. Scarcity mindset, simp behavior. You believe she is rare. You believe you have limited options. You believe losing her is catastrophic. The strategic man knows no single woman defines his value. The simp believes, this is my only chance. And that belief leaks into behavior, through tone, through urgency, through overinvestment. Kindness is not weakness, but uncalibrated niceness is. When you agree with everything she says, avoid mild disagreement, never challenge her, always prioritize her schedule, never enforce standards. You are not being kind. You are avoiding rejection. And avoidance behavior signals insecurity. Attraction thrives on polarity. Polarity requires differentiation. Differentiation requires backbone. If she senses you would reshape yourself entirely to keep her, you become malleable. And malleability is not attractive in men. The simp falls fast, not because he feels deeply, but because he attaches quickly. He projects fantasy onto potential. After 2 dates, he imagines exclusivity. After 3 compliments, he imagines connection. After 1 intimate conversation, he imagines loyalty. He fills in blanks with hope. The strategic man fills in blanks with observation. He does not assume. He assesses. He watches consistency. He watches effort. He watches reciprocity. He understands something critical. Interest must be demonstrated, not imagined. In every negotiation, the one who can walk away holds power. This principle is universal. Business, politics, warfare, romance. The mindset echoes strategic philosophy found in the art of war. Strength is not loud. It is positional. If you cannot walk away because you fear loss, you are not negotiating. You are pleading. The strategic man does not threaten to leave. He simply maintains the ability to. And that quiet capability changes the dynamic entirely. Many men misinterpret tests, delayed responses, playful challenges, mild disagreements, emotional fluctuations. These are not always manipulation. Sometimes they are evaluation. She is subconsciously asking, is he stable? Does he have options? Is he easily shaken? Will he fold under pressure? The simp fails tests because he panics. He doubles effort. He seeks reassurance. He over-explains. The strategic man passes tests because he remains unchanged. No emotional spikes. No dramatic reactions. No chasing energy. Consistency under pressure signals strength. When you pedestal a woman, you distort perception. and you exaggerate her uniqueness. You ignore red flags. You inflate her value relative to yours. And here's the irony. The more you elevate her, the less equal the dynamic becomes. And attraction requires tension, not imbalance. When you worship, you remove tension. When you remove tension, you remove polarity. And when you remove polarity, desire fades. You call it confusion. She calls it lack of spark. You must reverse the lens. Instead of asking, does she like me? Ask, does she qualify for my time? Instead of thinking, how do I impress her? Think, is she consistent? Is she respectful? Is she aligned? This is not arrogance. It is self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic because it signals internal stability. The strategic man does not chase attention. He evaluates character. Most rejections are not random. They are engineered unconsciously by over-texting, excessive reassurance, early emotional declarations, over-gifting, over-apologizing, over-availability. Each act chips away at perceived value, not because generosity is bad, but because disproportionate generosity signals imbalance. Balance sustains attraction. Imbalance suffocates it. At the core, simping is not about women. It is about male identity. If your entire sense of worth fluctuates based on her attention, you don't have identity. You have attachment dependency. The strategic man's identity is rooted in mission, fitness, finances, skill, social circle, purpose. Women complement his life. They do not define it. And that difference is everything. If she stopped replying today, would your life collapse? Or would it continue moving forward? And your honest answer reveals your position. If your emotional stability depends on her consistency, you are vulnerable. And vulnerability without self-control becomes neediness. Neediness repels. There is an illusion we need to remove completely. You think attraction is built on effort. It isn't. It is built on perception. And perception is shaped by power. Not loud power. Not dominance theatrics. Not aggression. Position. The moment she perceives that you are more invested than she is. The dynamic tilts. And once it tilts too far, it rarely resets. Most men confuse two very different things. Approval feels warm. Desire feels electric. Approval says, "You're so sweet. You're such a good guy. You deserve someone amazing." Desire says nothing. It shows. It pulls. It leans in. It invests back. The simp chases approval because it feels safe. The strategic man cultivates desire by maintaining tension. Approval is earned through compliance. Desire is sparked through polarity. And polarity requires difference, not submission. This is where most men get uncomfortable. Respect precedes attraction, not the other way around. When a woman senses, you have boundaries. You are emotionally stable. You don't panic under uncertainty. You won't tolerate disrespect. You can walk away calmly. She registers strength, not arrogance, strength. This principle echoes across power dynamics, including themes explored in the 48 Laws of Power. Power flows toward those who appear self-contained and unshaken. When you are easily rattled, easily impressed, easily swayed, you appear unstable. And instability does not inspire attraction. It inspires control. When you overinvest early, you give her leverage. She knows. You like her more. You fear losing her. You want commitment faster. You crave reassurance. Even if she never consciously weaponizes it, the dynamic shifts. Because power in any interaction rests with the person who needs less. If she senses that your emotional stability depends on her responses, she becomes the emotional gatekeeper. And gatekeepers rarely feel attraction towards those seeking access. The strategic man flips this entirely. He does not rush exclusivity. He does not confess intense feelings prematurely. He does not build fantasies around potential. He invests based on demonstrated consistency. This mindset mirrors the positional awareness found in the art of war. Never commit resources without evaluating terrain. The simp commits before terrain is known. The strategic man observes first. This is why overcomplimenting backfires. Compliments are not the issue. Frequency and intensity are. If every interaction is admiration, if every message is praise, if every date ends with emotional validation overload, you remove contrast, and contrast fuels attraction. Scarcity increases value, a psychological principle detailed in Influence. If admiration is constant, it loses weight. If attention is guaranteed, it loses thrill. Mystery evaporates, and with it, desire. One of the clearest signs of simp behavior is fear of silence. She takes hours to reply. He sends another message. She becomes distant. He increases emotional energy. She seems distracted. He asks for reassurance. Silence makes him anxious. But silence is neutral. It only becomes threatening when you lack internal stability. The strategic man is not reactive to timing. He matches energy. If she invests, he invests. If she pulls back, he maintains composure. Not as punishment, but as calibration. Chasing is emotional. Calibration is strategic. Chasing says, I need to restore connection immediately. Calibration says, I will respond proportionally. Proportional investment is attractive because it signals emotional intelligence. Overinvestment signals imbalance, and imbalance erodes respect. The outcome independence principle. This is the core shift. Outcome independence. You enjoy her presence, but you do not require it. You pursue connection, but you do not cling to it. You invest effort, but you do not overextend. When your happiness hinges on her behavior, you are dependent. When your happiness remains intact, regardless of her behavior, you are powerful. This echoes the quiet, strategic tone found in The Prince. Power is preserved by avoiding unnecessary dependency. The strategic man avoids emotional dependency. Not because he is cold, because he is disciplined. Now, this is why women pull away from simps. I will be direct. When a man texts excessively, confesses feelings too early, prioritizes her above his life, avoids mild disagreement, seeks constant reassurance, she feels pressure. Pressure reduces mystery. Pressure reduces excitement. Pressure transforms attraction into responsibility. And no one wants to feel responsible for someone else's emotional stability early on. The simp unknowingly makes her responsible for his feelings. The strategic man owns his, not suppression, control. The ability to feel without reacting impulsively. The ability to desire without chasing. The ability to care without clinging. When she tests emotional stability, consciously or unconsciously, she is looking for groundedness, not dramatic intensity. Groundedness feels safe. Desperation feels heavy. Many men think, if I just show more effort, she'll see my value. But value is not proven through volume. It is demonstrated through standards. Standards communicated calmly. Boundaries enforced quietly. Effort given proportionally. The strategic man does not compete with other men by increasing effort. He competes by increasing position. Better body, stronger network, clear mission, financial discipline, social proof. He becomes difficult to replace, not through obsession, through development. Here is the moment everything changes. When you stop trying to win her and start evaluating her. When you stop asking, how do I keep her? And start asking, Is she aligned with my standards? When you stop fearing loss and start accepting replacement as reality, that shift alone elevates your presence, because now you are not negotiating from fear. You are selecting from abundance, and abundance, real or perceived, shifts power. Ask yourself honestly, do you feel anxious when she doesn't respond? Do you overthink tone? Do you replay conversations looking for mistakes? Do you seek reassurance indirectly? Do you invest faster than she does? If yes, you are operating from validation dependency, and validation dependency guarantees imbalance. The first step towards strategy: you don't fix simp behavior by acting colder. You fix it by becoming fuller. Fuller schedule, a fuller purpose, fuller identity. When your life is genuinely rich, you do not cling. You select. You do not panic. You evaluate. And that shift is visible, even when unspoken. Enough diagnosis. Now we build. Because knowing why you lose means nothing if you don't change how you operate. You don't stop simping by pretending to be colder. You stop simping by becoming stronger. Strength removes the need for desperation, and desperation is the root of the problem. Step 1. Kill validation dependency. This is the foundation. If your mood rises and falls based on her responses, you are emotionally outsourced. You have handed your internal stability to someone who has not earned that power. Reclaim it. How? 1. Delay your responses strategically, not to manipulate, to break compulsive urgency. If you feel the urge to reply instantly, pause. Train your nervous system to tolerate space. 2. Stop fishing for reassurance. No indirect questions like, "Are we good? Do you still like me?" You've been distant. Neediness hides inside these phrases. If something is wrong, observe. If it persists, address it calmly. If it remains unresolved, walk away. Step 2. Replace obsession with expansion. You cannot detach from a woman if she is the most interesting part of your life. That is the uncomfortable truth. If your day revolves around waiting for her text, checking her story, monitoring her activity, imagining future scenarios, then your life lacks density. The strategic man's life is heavy with purpose: gym, business, skill acquisition, brotherhood, financial growth. When your life expands, attachment pressure decreases naturally. Not through acting, through structure. Step 3. Enforce boundaries quietly. Boundaries are not speeches, they are behavior. If she cancels repeatedly, reduce effort. If she disrespects you, address once calmly. If behavior continues, withdraw. No drama, no threats, no emotional monologues. The strategic man understands something critical. Consequences communicate more powerfully than arguments. You don't need to announce strength. You demonstrate it through non-tolerance. Step 4. Invest proportionally. This one principle changes everything. Match energy. Not in a petty way, in a calibrated way. If she plans, you plan. If she initiates, you reciprocate. If she invests emotionally, you open gradually. But if you are always leading the emotional charge, you create imbalance. Imbalance erodes respect. Respect precedes attraction. I'll never forget that. Step 5. Master emotional regulation. This is the true difference. The simp reacts. The strategic man responds. She takes hours to reply. The simp spirals. The strategic man continues his day. She posts, but doesn't text back. The simp feels threatened. The strategic man remains unmoved. This calm composure mirrors principles echoed in the art of war. Control of self precedes control of situation. Emotional spikes reveal insecurity. Emotional steadiness reveals power. Step 6. Stop idolizing beauty. Attraction blinds men, especially when options feel limited. But beauty is common. Character is rare. If you pedestal beauty without evaluating character, you inflate value artificially. The strategic man evaluates consistency, respect, emotional stability, alignment with his goals, reciprocity. He does not assume beauty equals compatibility. This mindset echoes strategic detachment found in the Prince. Never commit loyalty before loyalty is proven. Step 7. Become hard to replace, not through manipulation, through development, better physique, better income, better network, better communication, better discipline. The man who is progressing rapidly does not cling, because he knows his value is increasing, and increasing value creates natural confidence. Confidence reduces chasing. Here is what happens when you apply this blueprint. You stop over-texting, you stop over-explaining, you stop over-giving, you stop apologizing unnecessarily, you stop imagining exclusivity too early. And something subtle happens. She feels it. The pressure lifts, the dynamic equalizes, mystery returns, tension reappears, and attraction stabilizes, not because you manipulated her, because you stabilized yourself. Let's be honest, some women will still lose interest, even if you execute perfectly. And that's fine. The strategic man understands abundance. If she pulls away, he does not chase. If she becomes inconsistent, he does not beg. If she disrespects, he exits. Because walking away calmly is the ultimate display of internal power. The simp cannot walk away. The strategic man always can. And that difference determines who wins. You are not competing for her attention. She is competing for your commitment. Read that again. Your commitment is valuable. Your time is limited. Your energy is finite. Stop handing it out freely. Scarcity creates value, a principle consistently demonstrated in influence. When your attention becomes selective, its weight increases. At your center, there must be something immovable. Mission, standards, self-respect, long-term vision. If that core is weak, you will orbit around whoever gives you validation. If that core is strong, people orbit around you. This is not about domination. It is about gravity. Strong cores create gravitational pull. Weak cores chase external approval. This is where we stop talking about behavior and start talking about identity. Because simping is not a texting habit. It is not a dating mistake. It is not a one-time overinvestment. It is a position in life. And position determines outcome. There are two identities: the man who seeks validation and the man who commands respect. One negotiates from fear, the other operates from stability. One reacts, the other responds. One chases, the other selects. And the difference between them is not money, not looks, not height, not luck. It is internal authority. This is the long-term consequences. Let's project both paths forward. Path 1, the simp. He continues, overinvesting early, seeking reassurance, ignoring red flags, pedestaling beauty, reorganizing his life around women. Over time, something happens. Resentment builds. Because when you give excessively without reciprocity, you feel drained. You begin saying, "Women don't appreciate good men. I always give more. Nice guys finish last." But here is the hard truth. You were not too good. You were too available, too eager, too emotionally dependent, too approval-focused. And approval-seeking eventually breeds bitterness, because you expect a reward for sacrifice. But attraction is not a moral scoreboard. For path 2, the strategic man. He invests proportionally, enforces boundaries calmly, walks away when disrespected, builds his body, expands his income, strengthens his network, prioritizes mission, and over time, something different happens. Options increase, confidence stabilizes, emotional spikes disappear. He does not panic when someone pulls away, because he understands abundance. And abundance is not about having many women. It is about not fearing the loss of one. Here is what most men never realize. Women are highly perceptive to emotional neediness. You cannot fake detachment. You cannot act unbothered while internally spiraling. Energy leaks, through tone, through pacing, through micro-behaviors. The strategic man is not pretending. He is genuinely grounded, because his identity is not built on female approval. His self-worth does not fluctuate with response times. That steadiness feels safe. It feels masculine. It feels rare. And rarity increases value. The illusion of romance. Some men still resist this. They think, but I want to be romantic. Romance is not submission. Romance is intensity controlled by strength. You can be affectionate, you can be expressive, you can be generous, but only when it is anchored in self-respect. Generosity without backbone becomes worship. Affection without boundaries becomes dependence. Intensity without stability becomes pressure, and pressure suffocates attraction. The power of walking away. This is the ultimate dividing line. The simp cannot walk away, even when disrespected, even when undervalued, even when breadcrumbed. He stays, because he fears starting over. The strategic man leaves early, not angrily, not dramatically, calmly. And calm departure signals something profound. I value myself more than this dynamic. That message shifts everything, even if she never returns. Because the goal is not her return. The goal is your position. This mindset reflects a consistent theme across power philosophy, including the 48 laws of power. Never allow yourself to appear desperate for acceptance. Desperation invites control. Control destroys respect. This is the hidden truth about attraction. Attraction is not about effort. It is about tension. Tension between access and uncertainty. Between interest and independence. Between desire and discipline. The simp eliminates tension. He provides full access immediately. He reduces uncertainty completely. He signals dependence early. The strategic man maintains tension naturally, not through games, through life structure. He is busy. He is improving. He is selective. He is outcome independent. That combination creates intrigue, and intrigue fuels desire. If you ignore everything said here, nothing changes. You will continue over-texting, over-giving, overthinking, over-investing, over-chasing, and wondering why attraction fades. You will blame women. You will blame society. You will blame dating apps. But deep down, you will know. You negotiated from weakness. Again, if you apply even half of this, your behavior shifts, then your identity shifts, then your outcomes shift. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because when you remove desperation, you remove the main factor that repels attraction. When you increase self-respect, you increase perceived value. When you build mission, you reduce attachment anxiety. When you enforce standards, you attract alignment. Ask yourself honestly, do I want to be the man who begs to be chosen, or the man who chooses? Do I want to feel anxious when my phone is silent, or indifferent because my life is full? Do I want relationships built on imbalance, or built on mutual respect? You cannot be worshiping and respected at the same time. You must choose. In every domain, business, politics, warfare, romance, the one who needs less holds power. That principle echoes through strategic literature from the art of war to the prince. Power is preserved by limiting dependency, And emotional dependency is the simp's greatest weakness. Remove it, and everything changes. You do not need to become colder. You need to become stronger. You do not need to suppress desire. You need to anchor it in discipline. You do not need to chase harder. You need to build higher. Because when your standards rise, your desperation falls. And when desperation falls, respect rises. And when respect rises, attraction stabilizes. There are two men watching this. One feels attacked. The other feels awakened. The first will defend his habits. The second will change them. Which one are you? If this sharpened your perspective, subscribe for deeper strategic thinking. If you recognize your past self in this, comment, shift. And if you know a man trapped in validation addiction, send this to him. Because simping is not love. It is fear wearing romantic clothing. And fear never wins. Strategy does.